See if you can square this triangle. Denmark is simultaneously one of the most socialist countries on earth, produces significantly less GDP per worker than the United States does, and has one of the best market sectors in the world. According to everything you will have heard from neoliberal pundits, that should be an impossible combination, but it simply is the case. Denmark has the highest rate of taxation per GDP in the OECD. The state owns half the wealth of the nation. That's used to pay for robust public benefits around healthcare, childcare, public transit, arts and culture, and more than tuition-free higher education. The majority of the workforce is unionized, and McDonald's workers famously make $20 an hour US or about 25 an hour Canadian. Danes take so much more vacation time that they work 6 hours a week less on average than American workers do. With less work and more public transit, they are the closest nation on earth to living within the famous donut of ecological sustainability, taking care of everyone's basic needs without exceeding planetary boundaries. Much of this might be expected from a social democratic nation, but what is less expected is that Denmark would have one of, if not the best, market sector in the entire world. Denmark has a booming small and local business scene, as well as sophisticated industrial mid-size and large-scale enterprise with some of the most cutting-edge green technology products in the world. Some of this is chalked up to the fact that Denmark has a skilled, versatile workforce and a system that is built to help businesses hit the ground running efficiently. And certainly that is the case. Denmark is repeatedly ranked as the best country in Europe, and sometimes the world, to start a business by Forbes magazine. But that only explains so much. Markets need workers, customers, and incentives to function, and we are constantly told that big redistribution, taxes, government, unions are the primary obstacles to those things. So how is Denmark getting it all in? Denmark has another socialist secret weapon. Not socialist in the sense of government control, but in the sense of working class control. Denmark is chock full of housing cooperatives. A housing cooperative is a multi-unit building that is owned and democratically controlled by its residents. Much like a family that owns a house, they pay for the upkeep of the building, but not the additional profit of a landlord. Denmark has less than 6 million citizens, but has over 100,000 housing cooperatives producing over 500,000 units. That means about 10% of the population is in housing cooperatives without landlords. Most of those are concentrated in the big city centers where it's most expensive to live, and about a third of the housing supply in Copenhagen is housing cooperatives. Many of these cooperatives were started or purchased with government subsidies as investments in permanent, affordable housing. A landlord economy is essentially a fake economy. We currently count their revenue towards GDP, but properly speaking, it should be thought of as a subtraction. In particular, it subtracts from the disposable income of their tenants. Landlords, as the name suggests, own the land underneath the housing units. They don't produce that land. Mother Nature does. But they charge their tenants for access to it, driving up the cost of living while collecting unearned income. Once we understand about cooperative housing and social housing in Denmark, their system makes perfect sense. Workers get high incomes from their unions. They have a low cost of living from their housing cooperatives. And when you have high incomes and a low cost of living, you can pay huge taxes for a massive public sector and huge public benefits and still have disposable income left over. And what do people with free time and disposable income do? They go meet their friends in cafes and bars and restaurants. They go to comedy clubs and music halls and cinemas. They go to bakeries and hair salons and bookshops and the markets. Boom. Denmark doesn't have a magic economy, it's just a real one. The rest of us can invest in a real economy anytime we want.